Right now at 9, a man is dead following a hit and run in Miami. Plus, a multi-car crash stops traffic on Joplin's busiest street. Also, we're heading to an axe dueling competition in Joplin, and we're learning how to make glass tea lights.
The 4 states' most watched news starts now.
Police in Miami are asking for your help after a man is hit and killed by a car along Steve Owens Boulevard. This is the KOAM News at 9. I'm Chris Warner. Police say around 10:30 last night, they were alerted to reports of a man down in the road in the 1200 block of Steve Owens Boulevard. Police arrived on scene and found the man who appeared to have been hit by a car. Officials say the car left the scene after hitting the man. Officials are asking any witnesses to the incident to come forward. If you have any information, you're asked to contact Detective Johnson at 918-542-5585. A multi-vehicle crash in Joplin snarls traffic along Rangeline Road. Dispatchers were alerted to the crash just before 3:30 this afternoon at the intersection of Mall Road and Rangeline. One vehicle rolled over and 2 other vehicles were also damaged in the crash, but they were ultimately driven from the scene. Man, it's been nice. It's almost like shorts weather compared to what we saw. Nick Kelly joins us.
Hey, we'll certainly take it, Chris, especially when temperatures went a little warmer than even I was expecting, which is certainly good for those of you that have not been a fan of this snow sticking around. 31 this morning, warmer than what I was expecting this morning, but hey, that took us from 31 this morning to 44 degrees. A nice day, a nice way, too, to wrap up this weekend. Although we did track a few passing clouds in some parts of our northern counties this evening, but in general, we just have a very weak cold front passing through, giving us a quick north breeze for the overnight hours ahead of us. But in general, we're looking okay, with most of us back near 30 degrees, mid-30s trying to hold on elsewhere, but everybody turns cold tonight. Let's say lows back near 24, but looking good for tomorrow after some morning clouds, mostly sunny for the afternoon, highs back at least in the mid-40s. We'll see again if this trend continues for the week ahead of us. Here in a bit, Chris.
Nick, thank you. The Main Street Axe Company hosted an axe dueling competition today. The base is pretty simple. Whoever scores the most points wins. Participants could compete solo or as a team, providing a fun and competitive challenge.
We have 14 teams visiting from Kansas City, Jinx, Oklahoma, Northwest Arkansas, Pittsburgh and Joplin area, and Neosho. Duels, you have a teammate, a match is 5 throws. You and your teammate stand side by side. You throw at the same time and share the same bullseye. The high score wins from 5 throws.
Now, in addition to the axe throwing, there were bar games, food, and prizes throughout the day. The Spiva Center for the Arts hosted a glass tea light course today. The course focuses on glass composition, and participants had the chance to make what you saw there, some of their own abstract pieces to bring home.
We're making tea lights. We're going to put little fairy lights in them so they'll glow through the light or through the candle holder. And you can put a candle in it if you want. But we've made all kinds of things here at Spiva. We've made ornaments, we've made sun catchers, we've made jewelry, all kinds of things.
The event was open for those ages 9 and up. U.S. officials tell Fox News that a Russian invasion of Ukraine could cause up to 50,000 civilian casualties in that country. This, as multiple sources on Capitol Hill tell Fox that Joint Chiefs of Staff Chair General Mark Milley has warned Ukraine's capital could fall within 72 hours if Russia decides to invade. As U.S. forces arrive in nearby Poland, a NATO ally, the White House says it's prepared for any contingency. Fox News correspondent Alexandria Hoff has more from the White House.
Upon returning to the White House from Delaware, President Biden was asked if there is something in particular that he thinks President Putin wants as he is deciding whether to invade or not. President Biden said, quote, things he cannot get, presumably referencing the demands Russia has given to the U.S., including to halt NATO in Eastern Europe. President Biden also said he would not speculate on sending additional troops to NATO nations at this point. On Fox News Sunday, National Security Director Jake Sullivan spoke on General Milley's warning about the potential for a near immediate collapse of Kyiv, which according to sources he says could take under 3 days should Russia decide to invade. Here's Sullivan.
We are in the window. Any day now, Russia could take military action against Ukraine, or it could be a couple of weeks from now, or Russia could choose to take the diplomatic path instead. The key thing is that the United States needs to be and is prepared for any of those contingencies in lockstep with our allies and partners.
White House officials say the cost of an invasion for Ukraine would be human lives, and for Russia it would be economic. Bipartisan legislation is being pushed to formalize those consequences.
We ought to have biting sanctions in place now, not later. We have a bipartisan piece of legislation that I've been working on.
There is a strong effort, bipartisan effort, to give President Biden the strongest possible hand to discourage and hopefully prevent Putin from further incursions into Ukraine.
Russia is being accused of using energy as a weapon. They are the main supplier of natural gas to Europe, so alternative sources are being discussed. At the White House, Alexandria Hoff, Fox News.
We take this time now to honor one of our many four-state heroes. Sergeant Mike Torchia served in the Air Force during World War II, his hometown, Columbus. We're proud to recognize Sergeant Mike Torchia, tonight's four-state hero. And of course, learn more about other heroes. Nominate one of your own. You know what to do. Head over to KOAMNewsNow.com. Coming up, Prince Andrew is scheduled to give evidence under oath as part of the civil sexual assault case against him.
Promotional to premium mattresses in
Monday on Fox.
It was nice that we wrapped up the weekend on a quiet note, and the temperature's going a little warmer than even I expected, but we'll take it, especially for those of you that are not keen on the snow that we picked up from the middle of last week sticking around. The numbers, Mother Nature certainly showing that she's willing to help out. We hit the lower 40s yesterday afternoon, and we'll drop back into the lower 30s this morning. That's because we actually had that south wind stay up there throughout the course of the night. So as long as you got that south wind in place overnight with the setup that we have, you're not going to see a big drop off in numbers like that. But thankfully that helped us out by getting us back to about the mid 40s for a good number of you this afternoon. Thankfully, we stayed mainly dry for much of this week. Partly sunny skies, maybe some mostly sunny skies at time from tomorrow all the way, I think, until Thursday. And because of that and the changing upper level setup, temperatures will be in the 40s and 50s. That's going to be a primary target for highs this week. Then I'm going to watch for our next cold snap and even a weak wave by this coming Saturday. But looking good from 7th at range line at 9:15 on this Sunday night. Sitting at 30 degrees, a calm breeze this time around, and a dew point at 24. This time, with the calm breeze outside to take us through the overnight, we are going to drop back into the 20s. In fact, a few spots like Carthage, Welch, Neosho, you're already back near 29 degrees. Everybody else trying to hold on to readings between 30 and let's say 35 degrees at the most. But we had a much calmer breeze throughout the day, and it is pretty dang calm out there. Maybe a couple areas with a north breeze at 10 miles per hour. But in general, a calmer breeze, trying to switch out of the north temporarily, even though we don't have a lot happening on the surface map of the Skywatch Storm Tracker. Just some passing clouds because of a weak cold front that's continuing to fall apart as it shifts through the region. Other than that, not much to show at the surface and not much in the upper levels either. Maybe a couple waves that'll come along the northwest flow of the jet as we go throughout much of this week. But this upper level ridge, even though it's going to be centered for much of this week out to the west, it is going to have a good influence on our weather setup. Let me show you what I mean. Starting in the short range with our future track forecast, we'll have the passing cloud cover come on through, but again, nothing under the clouds. We'll keep dry as we go through the overnight and to get your Monday morning started. This time, though, I do expect temperatures to drop back into the mid-20s. So let's bundle up for the morning drive. But mostly sunny skies throughout the rest of the day and a returning southwest wind at 5 to 10. That is going to help us out with temperatures across the region. Joplin, for example, will start at 24, 40 degrees by noon, and a high of 45. Southwest Missouri, let's say mid-40s for you all. And then our corners of Kansas and Oklahoma will say mid-40s to about 50 degrees. Not bad to get this new work week and school week started. Staying mostly clear for tomorrow night, going into Tuesday morning. I think we'll actually drop back into the lower 30s, a little warmer than what the future track is showing here. But I think it's got the right idea about how Tuesday afternoon will unfold. Right around 56 degrees, even with some partly sunny skies in tow. Let's go 57 on Wednesday. A quick cold front knocks us back to 46 on Thursday, but not a terrible drop off. Then 57 on Friday. Then I think a stronger front rolls in by Saturday, Chris, and that will knock us back into the 30s. And with some moisture, maybe a few rain showers Friday, and maybe a few snow showers Saturday morning. It's not, thankfully, looking like a big deal for now.
That's good, though. I mean, we had enough snow. I think we've had our snow for the year at this point, so.
I know, like, we just want to put that last storm system behind us, and thankfully the numbers this week will help us do just that.
Nick, thank you so much. Up next, some truckers in Canada are using a convoy to protest vaccination laws and other coronavirus restrictions.
#Polar Opposites at
Major Crimes tonight at 11, right here on Fox 14.
Welcome back. Next month, Prince Andrew is scheduled to give evidence under oath as part of the civil sexual assault case against him. Virginia Giuffre is suing the Duke of York in the United States. Andrew, who's the son of Queen Elizabeth, has repeatedly denied the allegations. He's scheduled to be deposed on March 10th in London. Giuffre says the Duke sexually assaulted her on 3 different occasions when she was 17 and was being sex trafficked by the late financier Jeffrey Epstein. Now, she says the Duke abused her in London, in Epstein's mansion, and New York on Epstein's private island in the Virgin Islands. Some truckers in Canada are using a convoy to protest vaccination laws and other coronavirus restrictions. Truckers and groups of protesters have tried to block the streets of Ottawa, Toronto, and other cities. Prime Minister Justin Trudeau has spoke out about the demonstrations, calling the protesters a, quote, fringe minority. More than 80% of Canadians have been vaccinated. With several states in India experiencing a third wave of COVID-19, millions of children haven't gone back to school, some for over 600 days. They've been adapting to remote learning from their homes. And then there are millions of others who have been forced to cut short their education due to inaccessibility to digital devices and financial setbacks caused by the pandemic. CNN's Vedika Sood reports.
14-year-old Avantika hasn't been inside a classroom for over 600 days. Millions like her are still adjusting to remote learning.
Ma'am, can you explain Python again?
Avantika is fortunate to have unhindered access to a laptop and a steady internet connection for online classes. Just 50 kilometers away in this small 7 by 9 foot room, 10-year-old Ansara lives with her parents and younger brother. She does not have access to a laptop or internet. Her mother sorts waste for a living. She earns less than $70 a month and cannot afford a smartphone.
The pandemic has been brutal. My daughter was studying, she was trying to learn. I was hoping to enroll my son into school.
With the help of an NGO, Ansara first walked into a government school in 2019. Her formal learning had just started when the pandemic forced schools to shut down.
Hindi, English.
I asked Ansara what she liked learning in school. The 10-year-old says she's forgotten most of it. The only exposure to learning that Ansara gets is when a member of the NGO sits with her in this public space by the road. She's one of many who desperately wait for these informal sessions.
According to UNICEF, only 1 in 4 children in India has access to digital devices and internet connectivity.
A March 2021 report by the agency says school closures have affected a staggering 247 million children in elementary and secondary schools. In its economic survey published last month, the Indian government says the dropout rate caused by the pandemic is yet to be ascertained.
So currently,
Experts say the learning loss for this generation could be irreparable, especially for the marginalized.
So the dropout rate in India was 17% pre-pandemic, and we estimate that it's going to go even higher because along with lack of digital devices and access to online education, the income loss that their parents are suffering is also impacting children.
Ansara hopes to be a teacher someday, but with the digital divide deepening an already stark socio-economic crisis, her right to an education has been interrupted. The chances of catching up on the lost years look bleak. Vedika Sood, CNN, New Delhi.
According to UNICEF, 80% of children aged 14 to 18 years reported lower levels of learning than when physically at school. Coming up,
The NFL responding to allegations of racism in its coaching hires. I'm Christina Coleman in Los Angeles. More on that story coming up.
Welcome back. A major automaker says production cutbacks could be looming soon due to a key supply shortage. Now, Ford says it may have to temporarily halt or scale back auto production at 8 plants in North America because of continued shortages of semiconductor chips. The automaker says the production delays are set to take effect next week. The plants affected are located in Michigan, Chicago, and Mexico. Ford will also trim back production of its popular F-150 trucks in Kansas City as one shift produces transit vans. Ford says the computer chip shortage could ease later this year. As one airline puts hard drinks back on its menu, those serving them fear what may come next. Southwest Airlines announced Thursday they would bring beer, wine, and liquor drinks back to their menu for most flights starting on February 16th. This ends almost 2 years of dry operations, but flight attendants fear this will result in worsening behavior and non-compliance. Union reps called Southwest's decision unsafe and irresponsible after 2021 saw a spike in unruly passenger incidents, many stemming from people refusing to wear their masks. American Airlines is the only major U.S. carrier which has not brought back alcohol service to its main cabin. A new airline has taken the spot as the worst airline in the U.S. According to the Wall Street Journal's annual ranking of U.S. airlines, JetBlue's ranking dropped to behind Spirit and Frontier to last place. The new status for the airline is mainly due to the increasing amounts of canceled flights and hours-long delays that travelers with the airline faced. American Airlines also suffering a similar fate, tying with Frontier for third worst airline. Texas's handling of the pandemic is paying dividends. The Lone Star State has surpassed its pre-pandemic job levels, starting this year with nearly 90,000 more jobs and with unemployment on a steady decline. Fox Business Network's Connell McShane has the story.
Only 4 states have more jobs now than they had before the pandemic, and they all seem to have relatively open policies when it comes to COVID. Arizona, Utah, and Idaho join Texas in that group. And from what we've seen in all of these states, and it's especially true here in Texas, their populations are growing, and it's helping out small businesses like this restaurant where we're broadcasting from in Bastrop. We also stopped by another local company that makes statues. Fascinating process to watch them do their work there. At last check, Texas has over 300,000 more people now than before the pandemic hit.
Texas is a work-friendly state, and we strive to provide a good environment for companies.
Freedom, freedom, and just the whole idea that, to stay out of each other's way, stay out of each other's business.
Now, Kevin Plunkett says that people have been moving to this area in droves, whether it's to work at a company like Tesla or a restaurant like this. And from Glenn Hammer's point of view, overlooking the state capitol in Austin at the Texas Association of Business, the economic strength of this state is even more pronounced around here.
So one way to think about it is that Texas is the strongest economy in the country. But within Texas, when you take a look at what's going on in Austin, with over 30,000 jobs created in the last year or so, during a pandemic, it's even at a faster rate.
We met this couple, Andy and Lena Reed. They just moved from San Jose, California. Both work as chefs, and they both love it here in Texas. We've also seen this on a much larger scale. Companies like Tesla and Oracle relocating to the Austin area. They all seem to tell similar stories. You have business-friendly policies, much more open during COVID, and that combination over the last couple of years, we're seeing it now play out in the job numbers. Back to you.
We're wrapping up this half hour of the news at 9 as actress Jennifer Garner is the latest recipient of an award from a Harvard theater group. Welcome back. Actress Jennifer Garner is the latest recipient of an award from a Harvard theater group. Hasty Pudding Theatricals named Garner their 2022 Woman of the Year. Theater group says it honored Garner not only for her acting accomplishments, but also for her philanthropic. I've said that word 100 times, but she's been really good with this work, including with the organization Save the Children. Last year's honoree was Viola Davis. Previous recipients also include Meryl Streep, Katharine Hepburn, and Cher. I promise I can speak the English language, just sometimes it just catches you right there on the tongue and you can't spit it out. Hopefully we'll get through this because we've got 30 more minutes of news, weather, and sports coming your way. Up first, a couple from Pflugerville, Texas was reported missing last month, but Travis County Sheriff's Office believes it's a case of murder. Plus, the state legislature in North Carolina gets a court order to go back to the drawing board. Also, this week's giant winter storm is headed over eastern ocean waters and still leaving many without power and facing problems.
Tensions rise in Ukraine as the White House warns a Russian invasion could come at any moment. I'm Steve Harrigan in Kyiv. That story ahead.
You can't believe
Welcome back to the news at 9. A couple from Pflugerville, Texas was reported missing last month, but the Travis County Sheriff's Office believes it's a case of murder. Family of Luis Montez and Camarina Trujillo Perez reported the couple missing January 25th. The Sheriff's Office says Montez's vehicle was reportedly seen 2 days later in the city of Temple, about 55 miles north of Pflugerville. A spokesman for the Sheriff's Office says there's now evidence Perez is deceased. Montez is charged with murder. Pflugerville is just north of Austin. The state legislature in North Carolina gets a court order to go back to the drawing board. The state Supreme Court ordering on Friday for legislators to redraw the state's congressional map. In its ruling, the court called the map, quote, an unconstitutional partisan gerrymander. And the map was drawn and passed by a Republican-led legislature. It's the third GOP-made map ordered by courts to be redrawn this year alone, after maps in Ohio and Alabama were struck down due to partisan and racial gerrymandering, respectively. Now, lawmakers have until February 18th to submit new maps to the court. This week's giant winter storm, which we were a part of, has headed out over eastern ocean waters, and it's still leaving many without power and facing some problems. The storm stretched from Texas to Maine and put many in the northeast and the southeast in the dark and cold due to power failures. Memphis Light, Gas, and Water says 90,000 were without electricity, hoping to get back up to about a third of those by yesterday. In New York's Ulster County, 42,000 without power. Massachusetts dealt with slippery highways and fatal crashes, and airlines work to catch up on backlogged flights as well. Pedestrian deaths in Portland, Oregon bring about a key change in the city's dealings with homelessness. Portland has banned homeless encampments near highways and intersections. Mayor Ted Wheeler enacted the ban on Friday, saying the emergency order was needed because the majority of pedestrians killed last year were homeless. The ban prevents camping of any kind in high-traffic areas. City Transportation Report says 19 homeless were killed in traffic accidents in Portland last year. Authorized city teams will conduct the camp removals and offer shelter options. The man convicted in the 2018 killings of 4 people at a restaurant in Nashville learned his fate Saturday. 33-year-old Travis Rinkings received a sentence of life imprisonment without the possibility of parole. Jurors heard 2 hours of victim impact testimony before handing down the sentence. Ranking opened fire at a Waffle House in Nashville on April 22, 2018. Restaurant patron was able to wrestle away the assault rifle while Ranking fled. Jurors rejected his insanity defense on Friday before convicting him. Tensions higher than ever between Russia and the West over the country's troop buildup near Ukraine. Military maneuvers have the White House working overtime for a possible diplomatic solution, but preparing for the worst-case scenario. Fox News correspondent Steve Harrigan has the latest from Kyiv.
New satellite images released Sunday of Russian troops stationed near the Ukrainian border with Belarus. NATO says it is the biggest deployment there since the Cold War. Moscow denies that they are there for an invasion, saying they are conducting joint military drills with Belarus to defend its southern border. Ukrainians are not taking any chances. Volunteers training Sunday in Kyiv on how to use weapons and provide first aid.
I am afraid for myself, for my family. I want to learn to defend myself and defend Ukraine. I want to be secure and not to be afraid of occupiers.
The U.S., meanwhile, has begun sending elite troops and equipment to Poland to shore up NATO's eastern flank. But the administration says they are not preparing to fight a full-fledged war with Russia in Ukraine. More than 100,000 Russian troops are currently gathered at Ukraine's border. The White House has briefed lawmakers that a full-scale invasion could come at any moment.
You know, I would say the conditions are there. It's more likely than not. I think the noose is being prepared. It's around Ukraine right now as we speak.
While there's still hope for a potential diplomatic solution to the crisis, senior officials say they are prepared if Russian President Vladimir Putin pulls the trigger.
We have been clear from the start about the steps that we are prepared to take, and whatever action Russia undertakes next, the United States is ready.
The U.S. has sent more than $200 million of military aid to Ukraine in the last 2 months, with some concerns that sending any more might provoke the Russians. In Kyiv, Ukraine, Steve Harrigan, Fox News.
Later on the news at 9, the latest on a lawsuit involving the NFL.
We managed to keep quiet and back above freezing yet again as we wrap up this weekend. Certainly will help, and we'll certainly take it, considering it's getting rid of the snow that, for those of you that are not a fan of it, that's continuing to melt, especially with yesterday's highs in the lower 40s. And believe it or not, that south wind we had the other night just kept on going. So we just said forget about the 20s. We only bottomed out around 30 degrees across much of the area, but that really helped us out because instead of highs near 40 today, we went into the lower to middle 40s. Again, we'll take it, considering that it is continuing to melt away the snow, but we're putting a brief pause on that, certainly with temperatures right now sitting at 30 degrees. Calm breeze, though, that's going to make a difference for tonight, since that will allow us to drop back into the 20s. For now, though, we're sitting relatively dry across the region. We got a few more spots in the upper 20s, like Lamar, 29 degrees, 28 in Nevada. Everyone else around 30 to about the lower 30s overall. But again, this time around, though, look at the breeze. It's quickly shifting out of the north. It'll be a light breeze throughout the course of the night. That is going to allow us to drop back into the 20s with pretty much quiet skies on top of the region. A little cloud cover passing through for some of you, sure, but relatively dry throughout the course of the overnight. We just have a very weak and decaying cold front working across the region. Other than that, any big fronts staying well to the north of the region. And in terms of the upper level setup, this ridge, even though it will be centered out to the west, that's going to really exert some influence on us and really help us out with temperatures, and certainly help in the melting process as well. With that said, though, there will be a few ways running along the flow with the jet that we'll certainly keep an eye on as we continue throughout the course of this week. But in the short term, here's the passing cloud cover, and it will be quickly gone as we head toward tomorrow morning. Other than that, maybe a few extra clouds by sunrise, but you can see how temperatures will be cold once again, dropping back into the mid-20s for the overnight. But mostly sunny skies and a returning southwest breeze at 5 to 10. That is going to send us back into the 40s for many of you. Joplin, for example, will go from 24 in the morning, 40 by noon, and highs are 45. Let's say mid-40s in southwest Missouri, mid-40s to 50 for our corners of Kansas and Oklahoma. Looking beyond tomorrow afternoon, we'll keep quiet for your Tuesday morning. I'm thinking lower 30s to start the morning out, but partly to mostly sunny skies, highs at least back into the mid-50s. I think most of us around 56. One wave will just pass to our north and east, keeping us quiet overall, partly sunny skies. But that wave will send the jet back on top of the region, so we'll go from the 50s on your Wednesday to about the, what am I thinking here? Let's say 40s on Thursday. Then, after a good rebound to the almost upper 50s on Friday, this wave wants to push the jet back south, maybe bring a few rain showers Friday, maybe a couple snow showers as temperatures drop on Saturday morning. But its main job for now, Chris, looks like it's going to send us another brief cold snap our way by Saturday. But 45 tomorrow, mid to upper 50s Tuesday, Wednesday, and Friday. Then that quick dip into the 30s on Saturday.
Still, overall, a pretty great looking forecast compared to last week.
Yeah, thankfully with these numbers, the melt, the thaw, it will continue.
All right, Nick, thank you. Coming up in sports, Pitt State baseball plays their first game of the season. Plus, We caught up with Pitt State basketball ahead of their Monday night matchup against Central Missouri.
This is the Toyota Sunday Night Sports Feed. The Labette girls got a big win over Parsons on Saturday. The Grizzlies improved to 11-3 and remain at the top of the SEK standings. Labette held on to a 10-point lead at half. They nearly doubled that lead with a huge 18-point third quarter. The Grizzlies ended up winning 59-43. Madison Brannon scored a team-high 21 points. Shelby Wilson had 14, and Anna Dean added 10.
Just the fact these kids, a lot of times, this is the last time they're going to play Parsons, and it's a big rival for us. And the fact is that I felt we were the better team, and we had to have a big third quarter, and we came out and did that. I think it was a confidence building stuff for us too, because we did some very nice things. We still have a lot of things to work on, but each of those kids, I can go 10 deep, and on any given night, some of their playing times are different, but it takes all of us to do that.
Missouri Southern resumed action on Saturday after a week off. Southern hit the road against Central Missouri. UCM got the best of the men in back-and-forth battle, 75-74. 5 Lions players, though, scored in double digits, led by Stan Scott with 18 points and 9 rebounds. RJ Smith recorded a double-double coming in off the bench. The women picked up their 8th straight win, a 66-61 result over the Jennies. Lacey Stokes filled the stat sheet. She dropped a team-high 25 points with 6 rebounds, 6 assists, and 5 steals. Amaya Johns, really good from long range, helped the Lions by adding 16 points. Pitt State met Lincoln on Saturday for the second time this season. The men fell 98-87. Cameron Hufner and Quentin Hardrick had 22 points apiece. The women picked up a 20-point road win. Tristan Gegg finished with 15 points while Sydney Holmes added a double-double. Next up for Pitt State, they hit the floor against Central Missouri on Monday evening. The Jennies won the first matchup between the two teams back in December. Nyjah Collier and Brooke Littrell combined for 51 points and 30 rebounds. So the Gorillas are hoping to contain those two and control the boards. It's going to take a team effort and has the potential to be a big statement game for PSU.
We'll need a defensive stand from everybody. For us, it's really been when we've been at our best basketball. It's been when everybody's been involved. We've been waiting for that type of win this whole season, and so I think that it would mean a lot to our program. It'd mean a lot to our players. It would be a game changer for us. I think just on the positive note of our mentalities.
Kansas at home on Saturday for a top 10 matchup. The Jayhawks playing their 4th straight game against a ranked opponent. Kansas's tough schedule continues, hosting Baylor. A few minutes in, Christian Brown pokes it away, slams it down on the other end. Then DeJuan Harris Jr. kicks it out to Brown. He drains the 3. Jayhawks with a 17-point lead. Where is Baylor? A few plays later, Ochai Agbaji throws the alley-oop to Brown for the finish. 18 points and 10 rebounds for Brown. The second half, the lead at 24 points. Jalen Wilson to Agbaji for 3. And back to this duo. Brown to Agbaji this time. He's also got 18. Kansas blows out Baylor 83-59. Also in the Big 12, Oklahoma at Oklahoma State. Tanner Groves squares up, knocks down the 3. Game high 23 points. It's a 1-point game. Later, Avery Anderson lobs it to Musa Cisse. Still neck and neck. Cowboys have a 1-point lead at the break. Second half, Cisse with the slam. 12 points in the game. Cowboys up by 4 now. And then off the steal, Anderson lays it in. We're going to get another look at this one. Really tough finish for Anderson. That extends the lead to 6. And then Caleb Boone, he also finishes with 12. Oklahoma State wins this one 64-55. Baseball is back. Pittsburgh State enters the year ranked second in the MIAA preseason poll. They open up their season today against Southwestern Oklahoma. The Gorillas kick things off with a win, a 6-4 comeback victory after 10 innings of play. Garrett McGowan had a double, 3 RBI, and he hit a go-ahead solo home run in the 10th. Ryan Koval also had a double and 2 RBI. That's it for sports. We're back right after this.
The NFL issued a memo Saturday calling the results from the league's coaching diversity efforts unacceptable. Fox's Christina Coleman has the story.
The NFL responding to allegations of racial discrimination in its coaching hires. The league issuing a memo this weekend to all 32 teams calling the results of its diversity efforts unacceptable. The memo comes on the heels of a lawsuit filed against the NFL by former Dolphins coach Brian Flores, who was fired last month despite back-to-back winning seasons with Miami.
So that's a situation where he wasn't even given a legitimate opportunity, a fair opportunity to succeed, yet he still did, and then he was terminated.
Flores says his subsequent interviews with other teams weren't legitimate, but instead were done to comply with the league's Rooney Rule, which requires that clubs interview at least one minority candidate for open jobs. Flores accused Broncos exec John Elway of showing up to his interview hungover. Elway called those claims false and defamatory. Flores also said the New York Giants brought him in to interview despite having already made the decision to hire someone else.
He had similar experiences to what a lot of black coaches have said throughout the league, that they have felt when they do interviews for these positions that they are not being given a fair shake, and they're just being done to check a box.
Flores attorneys say the league's memo is a PR ploy and that no one from the NFL has reached out to them since the lawsuit was filed. Despite the suit, Flores says he still hopes to coach again in the NFL. Of the league's 12 head coaching vacancies over the last 2 years, 1 has been filled by a minority candidate and none by black coaches. Reporting in Los Angeles, Christina Coleman, Fox News.
Up next on the KOAM News at 9, we're taking you to a golden retriever meetup. Until this weekend, Golden, Colorado was most famous for having the largest brewery in the world. But there's more that's golden there than the city's famous Coors beer. The city marked International Golden Retriever Day on Sunday by inviting 1,500 canines to help celebrate. Videographer Foster Gaines shows us why this breed is one of America's most popular dogs.
And we got a perfect day. The suns are out. We're ready to go.
They're so cute. They're very affectionate dogs. They really lean into the love of today.
Well, we've got the Goldens in Golden Day. Everybody brings their golden retrievers to Golden, Colorado.
It's like better than Disney World today. How could you not be smiling? You need to stand out in a crowd like this, you know? She doesn't like to blend in all the time.
This is Maui. She's 14 weeks. She's just think overstimulated, but it's a great day for her. I think it's the best holiday there ever was. I mean,
they're going crazy. I am too. But they're a handful. Joey, look at you. We're going to see all your friends and your cousins. Oh, look, it's a cousin, Joey. That's Joey.
Joey.
And that's Mika.
Hi, Mika.
They're football fans. They're ready for the Super Bowl.
Hey, you're so good. Yeah.
Yeah, she likes Peyton Manning, and this one likes Mahomes.
oh, how funny. How cute.
Well, I used to work for the Kansas City Chiefs. Back in 1969, I got to go to the first Super Bowl with them. We're still going back and forth between the Broncos and the Chiefs. We're about to get our picture taken for the whole group. I don't know how far. It's going to go all the way back that way. Hello. Well, that was great. Yeah, it's a good day. It's a good day for golden retrievers.
Now, while this was the town's first Golden Retriever Day celebration, organizers say it won't be the last. Unfortunately, I personally had an unfortunate incident as a child with a dog. I'm not a really big fan of them. I think they're great if they belong to somebody else. I couldn't have a dog myself, and that drives my wife and kids nuts because they want dogs. Nick, do you have any dogs? Nick says he has no dogs. Cameron, any dogs? He says he has none. But that's all right. We know there are dog lovers out there, and dogs can be great, and they make great friends. And we hope that we've made a great friend for you this evening as we've brought you the evening's news. We'll see you back here next weekend. Thanks for making us part of your night.